Hi, welcome to How to Repair. In this video I'm going to show you how to change the back bearing on this Hoover made tumble dryer. It can be used for some of the candies as well and some other makes made by the Hoover candy brand. Now the back bearing is a round bearing. This is the bearing that I'm actually replacing. I've already taken this out and made the video, but I thought I'd just show you right at the beginning. Now the noises you normally hear on these are a constant rumbling noise coming off the back of the machine. If you end up with a different type of noise coming from the front of the machine, this may be on the pulley wheels, or it is possibility you have fluff built up on the fan blade. On condenser dryers you've got a fan blade at the front and a cooling blade at the back, or distribution blade. So sometimes the noise can come from this area, but if the noise is coming from the back of the machine, most of the time it is the back bearing and possibly the two front wheels on the front of the machine. But I'll just show you this closely, and you can see here that the bearing that was taken out of this machine has become oval, and this is the thumping noise that you're hearing coming from the back of the machine. All the other videos to changing the belt, changing the capacitor, fan blades, heater system, relays on the circuit board can all be found at the website. This video is specifically about the back bearing. So let's get on with the job. The first thing to do before starting any work, make sure you unplug the appliance. Now we're going to remove the whole front of this machine. So first thing we need to do is we've got some screws here. We've also got the kick strip which comes away. You will need to remove the condenser unit. And there's a couple of screws underneath here. I'm going to remove the water unit, and it's empty. Now we're going to undo the screws that remove the lid. Now the lid will either slide off completely, but this wood does have a tendency to swell and it might be difficult to get off. There's two screws holding the facial panel on. Once you've removed the two screws, we now need to disconnect the wiring for the control panel, which is here. Make sure you always take a picture of the wiring before disconnecting. Next we're going to detach the plastic part behind that goes onto the drum from the frame by undoing these four screws. Now we're going to undo the two screws at the bottom. Just peeling the seal out of the way. You also have to remove the door. Just taking the two wires off the door lock, and the panel comes away. Now here you have the main plastic part, NTC sensor at the front here. This is the door lock, and now we'll remove the whole front system. I'm just going to remove the NTC sensor wiring. Make sure you make a note of where the screws go. just going to undo this cable tie which holds the wiring in place. Sometimes you need to replace them, but this is one that you can just clip on, clip off. Okay, now we've removed all the screws and we're ready to remove the front part of the drum. You have to lift this up. There's two clips at the top here and there's two locking tabs here, so you need to lift this up. This comes away and then drops down. Now, you need to check these pulley wheels. Both of these are good, in good condition, and you also want to check all the way around this felt that the felt is in good condition. Now we've got to remove the drum so we can gain access to the capacitor on the side of the motor, so you can actually see. It is possible to change the capacitor if you want to from the side here, but you will be working in very confined spaces. To get at the float level indicator and also any pump units, the motor, so on, the drum on this machine has to come out. Now I'm going to remove the back cover here. This is where the heater is. This is the heater, and here you have two thermostats. One is a cutout stat and the other is a cycling stat. Just removing the bearing cover. And in here you have a circlip that holds the drum actually onto the back bearing. We're not going to undo the circlip. I'm actually going to remove the heater off and remove the three screws that hold the plate in place. Always be careful with the heaters, they are fragile. And then we've got two other screws here. And you can see now the drum has come away. So we'll just turn the machine round. I'm just going to rest this here so we don't damage the heater. Just use one of the old screws. And I'm going to leave the heater resting on that so it doesn't knock on anything. Now that we've undone everything and the drum is ready to come out, apart from the belt. Now, it's very hard for me to show you this because it's right down the side. But what I'm going to be doing is taking the belt off the pulley wheel. I'll try and get the camera in there for you to see. If the belt was snapped on the drum, then it would be easy to replace the belt. But in this case it isn't, and we're just wanting the drum out to service it. So I'm going to show you down through here, and we'll see if we can get some light in there so you can actually see what I'm doing. Right, down there, we can get the camera focusing properly. We have a pulley wheel and the belt goes round this pulley wheel. And this is what puts tension on the drum. So I've got the pulley wheel off, now we can slide the belt back. So now we've got the belt loose, slide the belt back while moving the drum forward. Once the belt's off, you can now easily remove the drum. Just be careful not to catch it on any wiring. And there is the whole bearing assembly with the circlip that I was telling you about. So now we've got to the back of the drum. The bearing sits behind the subframe here, and what we need to do is lift off the clip. And we can just get this on, lift the clip off. Leave that there. Now the plate will come off with the washer. Now, if you look closely here, you can actually see that the bearing is seriously warped. I'll bring this close to the camera for you, but you can actually see it's gone oval in shape, and that's the bearing completely warped. So now we need to undo the two screws. And replace it with the new bearing. Might have to knock it out. As I said, you can see the bearing is seriously warped in shape compared to the new one. Fit the new one on. And what I suggest you do is get it pretty central, and then do up either side. And that's that. There's no damage to the actual shaft itself. We want to hoover all this dust out. It's ready to go on. Then we need to put the washer, and you need to push it down a little bit. Just so we can get the circlip in place. Make sure it's locked in the groove. To gain access to the home motor, we need to remove the fan blade before we can remove this plastic cover. First thing you need to do is remove the plastic trim. That comes away. Now we can get access onto the nut at the back there. You will need quite a deep socket to get in there. Sometimes these blades are very difficult to get off. There we go, just knocked it with the cover. And that's the circulation fan blade. Now this cover can come off. This now gives us complete access to the two pulley wheels and also the motor. And I'll show you this quickly now. The belt goes on the grooves and round between the two pulley wheels. So when you put it back on, you would want to put it on and slide the belt down over the shaft. So we'll take this off now, and then I can show you how to fit a new belt properly. But the first thing I'm going to do, which I recommend you always do, is clean out to the whole of inside of any fluff or debris. And now we're ready to insert the drum. So this needs to be at the bottom. Again, be careful of the wiring. Now that we've got the drum in the machine, we can go around the rear of the machine and connect up the screws that hold the drum in place. But before doing that, I'm going to just slide the belt over onto the drum. Now I've got the drum loose without any pressure, so I'm going to put the belt, this is the original belt that was off the machine because it's in good condition, but while everything's loose, I'm putting the belt over the drum. Just lift it, and you want to slide the belt back to the line that's on the drum where you could see the belt was wearing the mark on the drum, and make sure it's not twisted. And then while the pressure's off the drum, you can just put the belt over the shaft, and we're ready to put the tension wheels back on after we've done the screws at the back. Right, you need to watch your fingers when lining this drum up. Be very careful because the edges are sharp. But as you can see, this plate at the back sits there. Now I'm just going to put a holding screw in here, and then we will lift the weight of the drum up to get our top screw in first. So I'm just going around the front of the machine, lifting it up and bringing the screw plate back. Now we can insert a screw in there. And that is now taking the weight. And while we're here, we'll just put the heater back in place where it should be, and we'll fix the other screw. So this one can come out. We'll undo the heater. You can learn all about the heating system at the website. I've got plenty of videos showing you how to test the heaters and also how to check NTC sensors. Now, my fault, I left one screw out. This is why it's very important to do things methodically. Forgot to put the screw in there. As we say, we all make mistakes. And while I'm here, I'll just put the back cover on the machine as well. Make sure this wiring sits in its tray nicely. Now, one of the common problems I've had with these Hoover and Candy tumble dryers is if they've been worked on a few occasions, sometimes the threads can be loose and therefore you'll need to put the next size of screw in. And make sure you don't put them in any longer because they have a designed length which is basically there so it doesn't touch the drum on the inside. And last but not least, we'll put the bearing cover on. Now, as I said, we've got the belt lining up onto the old marks on the drum. I hope you can see this properly. You need to get the belt over the first pulley wheel and then slide the belt back, and then you need to stretch the second pulley wheel. Just slide the belt back and then turn the drum, and you will be able to push the belt back on the spindle. You can see the grooves on the spindle. This might need to go forwards or backwards depending on the alignment of the drum. Right, now that we've got that on, I think the best time now is to put the cover on now. So, as I said, make sure you keep everything nice and clean because the more fluff that you can remove, the better. So this now slides into place. And as I said, make sure you don't trap any of the wiring. And that's now locked in place. So we need to put the first washer on. And make sure we line up the blade. Second washer and nut. And by holding the drum, it's not quite enough. You need to hold the blade tight, and a little bit, quarter of a turn should be enough. Now remember to put your guard in. And now we're ready to put the front. Remember the wiring comes on the outside because it must clip in here. And then it goes down through. We need to lift up. We'll need to lift the drum up as well. Make sure it slots in place. Once you've got it in place, you just give it a good rotation to make sure everything's nicely running. I think this has been apart before because that was not in the right place. So now we need to put the 4 screws in. I think there's a better track for this down here. It's nicely through, that's all together. Now all we need to do is put the front panel on. Remember to connect the 2 wires to the door lock when putting the panel on. just going to put a few screws in first to hold this in place loosely. Just get the seal in before we start doing things up. And make sure it's in nicely. Now that we've got the seal in place, I'll just put the rest of the screws. Just loosely doing them until I've got the door ones in. The electrics are pretty straightforward on this. Two screws to hold the panel back on. Now that we've got the machine together, I hope you've got no screws left. Make sure the plastic cover is firmly fixed at the top. Replace the last screw. And now what I would do before putting the lid on is make sure all the wiring is securely attached. Turn the power back onto the machine, turn it onto a cool cycle, and make sure that the belt is going round in the correct position on the drum. Thanks very much indeed for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. Remember, at the website we have hundreds of tutorials on different types of repair on all types of appliances, and if you did find this video helpful, please remember to subscribe to our channel, as that's what keeps us going and able to make these free videos for you. And if you did find this video helpful, remember you can support the website by just buying us a beer. We have videos on washing machine repairs, tumble dryer repairs, dishwashers, ovens, cookers, hobs, extractors and many other items. And please remember to subscribe to the channel, as that's what keeps us going.